What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of the Everything Paranormal Show, where today we're going to be talking about our late great friend Robert Fountain, or as we know him as Bob. So today we're not doing it's not a video type. We didn't put together some big huge video. We're going to try to play through some stuff and really just kind of honor Bob with some of his past. One of the things I definitely want to dive into is when he made his first appearance back, on my show. So I think that the thing to probably do for one is I guess I'm gonna turn it over to you, Stacy, for a second.
Well, you jumped right in, and I'm hearing an echo now. You jumped right in and didn't actually announce that Bob had died.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
He's kind of assuming that everybody knew.
I know. I'm sorry. I guess it's like So I was so much thinking. So guys, I apologize. So yes, but this show is about our friend Robert Fountain, who passed away on January 31st. Guys, like I said, I'm sorry if you're hearing it from us first, but Robert, or Bob, as we all called him, a lot of times there was times if he was on the show, like I said, he was either a special guest on the show or he co-hosted once before. He was on the Paranormal Council with us quite a bit. Even played the part of the demon for a while there, but and what's amazing is he would always show up to most all my shows. It's only like toward the end when his health started really declining, when he wasn't always able to make the shows. And sometimes it's because he was literally sleeping for several days. Sometimes, I know one of the messages I got, well, we'll share that later. I'm going to share some things with you guys. We're not going to try to have too much of a like a crying kind of boo-hoo miss you show, because that's not Bob. Anybody that knows Bob knows how matter of fact and kind of a realist he was, and his dark sense of humor. So he would not have wanted us to sit around and talk and put him on some kind of pedestal and boo-hoo and everything else. But I think he would want us to talk about him. I think he enjoyed that sometimes in a secret way. So I think we definitely want to talk about him. Angela Wallace, hello, from one of Bob's teammates. Hi, I'm sorry for your loss. We considered him family. I see you again. Stitch Rocks, hey. But yeah, Angela, we considered him family. We met him at the Outer Realm Fest 3.5 years ago or so, and me and Bob really just got along. I think Stacey will agree. I mean, I don't have a lot of friends, Stacey, Bob, and a few people. So it's like either I really get along with people, like me and Stacey, me and Bob, we really get along. We can have long talks. Or not so much. I don't have a lot of in between. I don't know why. But in any case, Bob was one of those people. It's like we gravitated to each other. I found out like he was from like Toledo, Ohio, which was like my backyard stomping ground, because literally like it was right across the border from where I grew up. And so a lot of us when we were teenagers would go to Toledo, Ohio. We'd jump across the border to go over there and party and all these other things. And then on top of that, we both married a, let's say, passionate Southern woman. so we had a lot in common in that, and there was many other things. So Terry Lynn says, God love him, his sense of humor was unmatched. Yes, very, and most people know he had a very dark sense of humor at times, but again, he was such a realist. But we'll cover more things. I want to get into some of this, and Stacey, I want to give you a chance a little bit too to kind of give some of your initial statements.
Yeah, well, one of the things I loved most was that he was old school. I mean, really old school. The dirty old man, that was his thing, and he reveled in that. Being able to make sexual innuendos, it's like, dude, you're like 90 years old. Stop it, you know. But
But he pulled them off. Like, that's the thing.
yeah, he was never the old get off my lawn guy. When you get up in age, usually what happens, and he just wasn't that.
Right. No, he still, no matter what, he still was the kind of guy that, like, even my wife would be like, you just want to hug him, kind of guy, even though he would have his sense of humor. So Taylor, why is he echoing? Because we had to take off echo cancellation because we're going to be playing some videos. And that's the only way we can get some of these videos to work. It was by taking off some of the echo cancellation. So if you guys get a little bit of echoing. All right, so let's dive in.
Turn it back on for right now.
Yeah, well, I know. I'm gonna get ready to. So one of the things I want to jump in here with is, so this was Bob's first appearance. There's me looking goofy. So this was back when, I don't know, this is just like about 3 years ago. But this is Bob's first appearance. Special guest, Bob Fountain discusses why entities want to contact us and more. But I wanted to play a little bit of some of the different clips of, because this is really where he's explaining who he is and some of his background. So that's why I thought it was most important. So here we go. We're going to play some of this. Well, just for some of the folks out there that may not be familiar with yourself, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, I was born in 1947 in Toledo, Ohio, so I've had a lot of time to observe the world around me. Over the years, I've been in the U.S. Navy, helped build late model stock cars, managed bar bands, earned 2 college degrees, and co-founded a nonprofit disaster response organization, as well as co-founded Spectrotech. On the professional side, I worked for a chemical manufacturer where I spent the last 25 years doing primarily process engineering related work. And over those years, and after seeing the UFO on my radar screen and visually while in the Navy, I became an avid reader of a wide range of paranormal topics.
Wow.
And viewed them from a process engineering point of view.
Now, I'm quite familiar with Toledo, Ohio. I'm quite familiar with Toledo, Ohio myself. Oh yeah. But yeah, so we're really from the same neck of the woods. That's pretty crazy. So you witnessed the UFO in the day, and that kind of got you started. So
I'll be right back,
how
guys.
long have you been involved in paranormal research?
Well, actually, it took years of different experiences before, something just hit the tipping point where all of a sudden it got in my radar range, so to speak. When I was 11 years old, we lived in a house that had a residual spirit that no one believed I was seeing and hearing. At 22, I lived in another house with a residual and active haunting. 25, I attended a spiritualist church with a Wiccan girlfriend, and that kind of opened my eyes to stuff was out there. But still, it was just nice to know information.
Right.
But it got to the point where when some things were happening, that's all of a sudden it decided this is really what I need to be looking at.
Well, yeah, that's, for me, it's been off and on over the last 24 years, and I did notice that you also mentioned to me that, because I met you at the Outer Realm Festival, and it was pretty interesting. It was their first annual festival, so I thought it went pretty well.
Yeah.
For those folks out there, East Valley Paranormal. And it was really a good chance that you and I got to talk and meet as well. And you had also mentioned that you were an ordained metaphysical minister. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I kind of worked into that like the same way I worked into getting into the paranormal. one of the things I've noticed over the years, there's kind of a void out there in the standard religions, Christianity and especially, where they don't talk about it.
Right.
You know, you go to church, the soul's eternal, you live on. There's a Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. But when it comes to paranormal occurrences, it's just dead silent. And that's why there's a lot of investigators out there, because people, this stuff happens to them, and the church is no place to, it's not a crutch for them because it's just not talked about.
Right.
It's like having, you know, the bad uncle or aunt somewhere. So,
oh,
as
yeah.
I got more involved with that, I said, we had to look at the spiritual end of this.
Well, absolutely. And I So when did you find, like, tell us a little bit about the history of when you decided to open up or start Spectral Tech.
Well, that happened when I was I was the executive director of this disaster response organization. And we arranged to lease an abandoned schoolhouse for 10 years for $1, which is pretty sweet. But all we had to do was renovate the building so the community could use it after we moved out. Well, the first time I went into that building, I could sense something was in there with us, because I could feel it walking around behind us pretty much. And one night I had the chance to sleep there by myself with all the doors locked. And this is one of these old-time schoolhouses, U-shaped, with an auditorium upstairs and downstairs.
Right.
Hearing footsteps going down the hallway, having something not window curtains off the wall and hitting me in the bed, stopping my watch for me when the doors were locked. That kind of piqued my interest. And then there was one of the people I was telling that to in our organization. He was a tech guy. He was also a paranormal investigator. So he asked if his team could come investigate. And what I did is I said, sure, as long as I get to come with you. So they went and did an investigation, and they found out, yeah, this place basically is haunted. And they asked me, because I do a lot of tech stuff myself, what happened is when I listen to something, I log everything on spreadsheets, so I got times and dates and when occurrences happen. And I capture all the EVPs, I put out little clips, pass it on to everybody else. I do it like a process engineering project.
Right.
Well, they like that, so they wanted me to join the team. Come to find out that that's all they wanted me to do, is to spend all the hours reviewing if you've ever been involved with that, all the hours it takes to review the tapes and the EVPs and the video.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's all they wanted me to do. They didn't want me to go out in investigations. And I found out, later that was because I was too old to look good on television.
Oh, geez.
Therefore,
oh, goodness.
I still like to do the data analysis, but they were in it for the wrong reasons.
Oh, yeah.
That they would die because someday someone would discover them. And I got the heck out of there as quick as I could.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, this is some of what I wanted you guys to see, is like way back when he was introducing himself. And that way, in his words, he can explain to you guys, he could explain a little bit of the history and some of the stuff, that way you guys can see where he's coming from. Now,
I never knew that he worked on late model stock cars. If I'd have known that, I would have been asking him all kinds of questions.
Right? Okay, so there's all kinds of like chapters. Let's just see let's go here. Again, I don't know where some of this stuff is. The shows, a lot of times, there's a lot of them that are going in, they're stirring up the nest and leaving. Some of them try to help, they do a few things. This is about helping people. One of my biggest pet peeves is helping people. If you're going to take on residential cases, help people. Give them those advices. Give them those things that's going to help do the guidelines or help them. That's the whole point of it for me, is helping people. So it drives me crazy when teams take on residential cases and they just go there and they thrill seek for their own purposes, so they can get their YouTube content or whatever the case is, or they can just satisfy their own lust for chasing the afterlife. meanwhile, there's still innocent victims that needed help and they were terrorized.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we tell some of our clients. If you're basing your fears on what you see on television, you're mistaken. I mean, there's stuff out there that isn't human. There's stuff out there that can hurt you.
By the way, just to pause real quick, Angela did say that, yeah, they heard that story many times. I'm sure, for sure.
It's very rare. It's far and few between. And some of these shows, actually, I think some of the shows, the producers, they put the shows on to make fun of the paranormal to begin with. I'm sure you know the same shows I know. We both talk about the same shows. We just can't name names.
Right.
So we don't have lawyers knocking on. And some shows out there, they're so idiotic that everybody stereotypes anybody doing this is morons.
Right.
And I think there's agenda behind there.
Right. I'm trying to cut out a lot also of we had a question from Big Rich who says, how does Bob feel about remote viewing to prove there's psychic prowess? There you go, Stacy.
I think it's just real. I didn't bother to mention him. I'm also a Reiki master. So taking energy and transmitting it through space, basically, instantaneously somewhere else, that's a given for Reiki practitioners. So remote viewing isn't much different. I'm sure a lot of the stuff that was remote viewed, the government never did give us the great details on.
Right.
Yeah, I believe in it.
Yeah, I know they had the remote viewing. The CIA had the program with the remote viewing. Yep. So, certainly there's. I definitely believe that there's truth there because I do believe in that metaphysical energy. I'm very much into energy on. Okay, you guys don't need to hear my take on stuff. One thing I definitely like to. Let me just also there was a question directed for you, Bob, from chat. It's from BRRS Media, aka Rich, Big Rich. So he says, has Bob ever encountered a greater demon? If so, how did it end?
If I had, it would have ended badly. Now, when I went to Bobby Mackey's, they keep on saying there's a demon there. And that's questionable. I think that's a lot of hype. At least I thought it was. I went there perfectly healthy. I went at an annual physical, nothing wrong. The day I left there, coming back home, I got deathly ill. For 2 weeks, I lost 30 pounds because I couldn't hold down food. Went to emergency room, had to have emergency surgery. My stomach was up in my chest and it was twisted shut.
Oh my God.
Now it seemed to me, and they said, well, they don't know how I ever survived that long. Well, they would have caught that in the annual physical. So then I was wondering, is it a coincidence that I went there and all of a sudden, since I had a small hernia to begin with, did the demon take advantage of that and try to snuff me?
Right. Yeah. It's very... Yeah. Let's see. We'll see what he says about Ouija board. Maybe we don't want to hear this one. I don't know. And the funny little story is that my wife saved some girl from getting a Ouija board just recently. She was picking it up and she was going to buy it, and my wife's like, "Listen, and now we make them. Look at this." Explain to her that you're using yourself as the conduit, versus something else like a voice recorder or something for EVPs. But once she explained it to that girl, it was like she put it back and was like, but people don't realize that about Ouija board. It's just a communication. Okay, so maybe I don't want to keep playing this. Yeah, this is hurting my branding now. Hey, like I said, we started making it for people, but the big difference is we started teaching people how to use them. So there's a big difference. We got educated and we pass on education. That's how it goes. And now it looks like
a YouTube video that teaches.
Right. So, okay, let me go here. What is this one here? So here's a little later on. Wait.
Whether you want the regular vampire.
Maybe we won't go to that one just yet. I think after that, I want to say, let's go in here. All right, I believe his next episode. So he came on, and it was like my episode 22 of my first season. But you got to remember, I was doing a show like once a week, and I was doing a bunch of other stupid things. But then he comes on, and then he was on to talk about, because one of the things he told me on that first show was like his UFO encounter stuff. So I said, well, hey, let's do it. Come back. I enjoyed having you on. You know, what the hell? Sorry, just Terry Lynn scared me with banging on the... but yes, says now I make them. Bob liked them too. And he never let me off the hook for accidentally calling him boob. Horrible typo. Yeah, that's the thing. He would never let something like that slip. So, yeah, Terry Lynn accidentally did the typo and called him boob. And I just felt him remind me. So, like, he would always bring that up. It was funny. But yes. But anyway, so we had Bob back on for where is it at? I guess it's getting ready to start. Oh, it's like my old intro here. There you go. That's my old intro.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Everything Paranormal Show. I'm your host, Josh Morris, and joining me today is a very special guest, Bob Fountain. Bob Fountain, who is with Spectral Tech. He's been leading those folks for quite a long time, and also he's a writer in the Paranormal Underground magazine. So if you've never heard of that magazine and you love paranormal, guys, go check them out because it's an amazing magazine. I actually got it. And let me tell you, it comes in your email. It's like a PDF form, but it is high definition, high quality, just like you're flipping through any other paper magazine. And I do believe you can get the paper editions as well. But Bob, welcome to the show. How are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing good. At least we finally got together. I didn't have a chance to bail this time.
Right?
Last time.
After a little technical problems last time.
Was it technical or was it the defense industry trying to stop us from talking?
I don't know. There's a conspiracy for you right there.
There you go.
Well, listen, Bob, we got a great show lined up. We're going to be talking about some UFOs and aliens. I know that's why I brought you on here back again by popular demand. My folks were wanting you to get back on here. And, of course...
And that's true. Like, I didn't have a lot of followers. Like, I don't always have a lot of viewers at times. But we did get some people wanting him back on, not just my wife, but I had actually gotten a few other messages to have him come on. There's only been a few people that people really wanted to see back on my show, and he was definitely one of them.
Of course, I know another subject besides ghosts is UFOs. So just to give a little bit of information to some of the folks out there.
And on a side note, look at how handsome he looks in this video. He like had his hair cut. Bob's looking good in this video.
The term UFO, of course, you guys mostly know is the unidentified flying object. But UFO or UFOB was actually coined by the United States Air Force in 1953. And they define it sort of as any airborne object which by performance, aerodynamic characteristics, or unusual features does not conform to any presently known aircraft or missile type, or which cannot be positively identified as a familiar object. So prior to that, like in the 40s and 50s, most people just referred to those type of things as flying saucers or flying discs. And of course, one of the scientists in the Air Force said, you know what, we cannot just go around saying flying discs or flying saucers in our reports, because again, they had many reports of things and, you know, it just didn't always fit. Because UFO is a pretty broad term. But I wanted Bob to talk about some experiences that he was telling me about. He He knows quite a bit about UFOs.
This is the only bad thing about doing this stuff live is I wish I would have been able to edit all of what I said out just so you guys don't have to listen to me. You can just listen to Bob.
Served some time in the Navy. Again, thank you for your service, Bob. So what can you tell us about UFOs?
Well, a little bit. I don't get into UFOs much because, there's some categories there in the paranormal, the cryptids. I don't want to get eaten. I don't want my arms and legs pulled off, so I stay away from that. Aliens, I don't want to get anal probed, so I just try to stay away from them. So I stick with the ghosts primarily because all they can do is scare you.
Right.
But anyway, some things happened over the years that, I just like any kid enjoying myself, but something happened when I was younger that I never told you before or anybody, is I kept on having this recurring dream when I was a little kid where I was getting up on a chair. We lived out in the country, out in the middle of nowhere, and I got up on a chair to get a drink of water out of the sink. I was that small. I think I was before first grade, so that's 5 or 6 years old. Anyway, I heard something in this little coat room before you come into the house, and I saw something in the window, and it had huge eyes and big gray head. Well, I was scared, tried to get off the chair. Next thing I know is this door is swinging open, something's coming towards me, and that's it.
Wow.
That whole dream, I had it over and over and over. So I had a friend of ours that's in the UFO community. She does dream interpretations. So I told her the details of this dream, and they look for all the symbols and how this represents this and on and on.
Right.
She said what she found disturbing about it, none of the stuff related. She says she really doesn't think that was a dream. She thinks it's something that really happened. And I had an investigator. I don't know if there's people out there who's into UFOs much, but there's a guy named Dr. David Jessup. He wanted to regress me to let me know if it was a dream or not. That's one of those things, it's a toss-up. Do you really want to know?
Right.
And I really didn't want to know. So I just said, no, I'll just stick with it's a dream.
Yeah.
But anyway, you want to know about the Navy. When I was in the Navy, I was on the 12 to 4 o'clock duty roster. I was a radarman, so I was above decks. And I was watching the radar, and someone was coming across the radar at about 1,000 miles an hour, and it did a right angle turn, which it shouldn't happen.
Right.
And then it did it again, and I adjusted the radar width. If you change the pulse width, it takes care of some of those problems like that, because if a cold front and a warm front hit, it will create a radar image. So I was trying to adjust the pulse width, and it wouldn't go away. So we asked the lookout if he saw anything up there. And he was stuttering. He says, my God, they're real. So we didn't know what he was talking about. So two of us ran out the door on the area where our Combat Information Center was. And there was something about 50 foot across, zipping from one ship to the other above it. And it must have been maybe 100 foot up from there. It was just going back and forth between the ships. And then all of a sudden, we watched two jets come off the carrier. The carrier was the Essex. We were on a little destroyer escort, so we're further out from the carrier. But we watched two jets leave, and all of a sudden this thing went from the size of a house up to the air, up to a dot in the sky in about 5 seconds, and off it went. We couldn't wait to get back in and write down what we just had seen. The captain comes barging in, because he was above decks at the time.
Right.
He come barging in, we stood at attention, and he said, did you people write anything down yet? And we told him we didn't. He says, well, then don't. It didn't happen. And you never to mention this again, and if you do, you'll go to prison. That changed my reality there pretty quick about what the government knew.
Yeah, I would say so.
Well, and at 20 years old, if a captain of a ship tells you you're going to go to prison, you're going to go to prison as far as you're concerned.
Now, yeah, I mean, and, I know Terry Lynn brought this up earlier, and she was talking to, of course, Angela in the chat, who is a member on the team. with Spectral Tech. I do want to bring over one thing for you guys to see, a little bit of Facebook here. You can see this is part of Spectral Tech's Facebook page, and you can see here where they had their honoring. They were passing along word that Bob had passed away. And again, Bob, he was battling both cancer and Parkinson's again. And we always want to send prayers to his wife, Claire, for sure. And again, this is just some of the photos that they shared of Bob's time with them. So I am jealous because me and Bob always talked about potentially someday being able to meet somewhere in Tennessee and maybe even do an investigation together. But when we were at Harriman at the Outer Realm Fest, that was about as far as we could make it, or as close as we could get together. And that's where I met him, like I said, face to face. But like I said, life happens and it's kind of tough, but we always stayed in contact and we were always talked on the phone a lot and the show, and he always showed up to almost every single show. So, but yeah, I mean, I know Terry Lynn was sad about that. She just said that, I wish we really did. But again, we still got to be involved with Bob and him being on the show. A lot of times it was just like he was right here with us. All right, so let's get that there. Let's move that there. Now, one thing I do because, again, you guys will have a chance. Let me move this down here, and let's queue up one other thing here. So I'm just kind of doing this all live for you guys. Now, I think there is something I want to play. Let me find it here. I'm going to try to find here. Terry Lynn, you said this is the one, right? Maybe it was just really quick. Hold on.
And missing is Bob Fountain. Bob tried to join us, but unfortunately he's having audio issues and sounds like a demon. We thought we had this worked out, but unfortunately the demon is back. So we may be doing some exorcism on the show tonight. I don't know. We might have to help out poor Bob there. So anyways, guys, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining the show.
All right, so this is the one here. I know there's something, Terry Lynn, I don't think you told me where it is. Oh, here we go. And let's see if we can find it.
That's all I consider it as. It's just to be a pretty simple dividing line. All right, we
and here's the thing. So he's getting ready to join us. Oh wait, what did Angela say? He was good at comforting the families who investigated and offering them advice. He was such a people person. Yes, and that is something that I can totally see in Bob too, because he has a way of. Because even if you start to go in like just like an off direction, he can quickly like corral that with some realism right back and keep you on path without even you really realizing it. That's the thing. But if you notice, I don't know if you guys can see, but you can actually see Terry Lynn in here under Beyond the Veil. You can see it right here on the screen. Look, it says, "Uh-oh, no boob tonight." So, anyways, I just thought I'd show in chat.
We might have Bob back. Let's see if we can get Bob in here. Bob, what's going on? Are you fixed? Oh. No audio, Bob.
There's his cigar.
Yeah, I was really hopeful too.
He even had his tie on.
Yeah, we're not getting anything from you, Bob. It's showing your mic's unmuted, so.
Terry Lynn said it's about
Nothing.
Yeah, and I've actually been out there. And what's been interesting is I've been there doing some on-site investigations into some ritual stuff and stuff that was happening there.
And this is now keep in mind what this show was. This was a show that we were trying to do every once in a while called the Paranormal Council. And of course, I wanted a show that featured 4 excellent people. One being myself, 2, that sounds so bad, but 2, Stacy Talich, which of course he's with us tonight, and he's now a regular co-host. Sean Carter, again, excellent with very knowledgeable. He's more on the religious side of things, being a preacher and whatnot. And of course, Bob Fountain. I thought it was such a great council to have. Everybody had a little bit of different background, but at the same time, we were all wise in our ways and enough to where we could have good conversation. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the Paranormal Council episodes. I just felt bad whenever Bob couldn't make it because of his crappy internet. And I knew that's what it was. Bob he was using anyways. But even in the chat, he's like, my computer is cursed and I'm trapped on chat for all eternity. That's what he has in chat here. Terry Lynn's like, no comment about the booby thing. Well, I was trying to let you slide on that one, honey. All right.
Also kind of come in contact with several different people. One was a UFO hunter, which was kind of odd that he was actually at this location. And then they were like, hey, there's Bob.
Look at his tie.
Bob. Wait, did you dress up? Did you just dress up? What was that saying? Maybe if you talk really fast, it will sound normal. Well, at least when you laugh, you just provide the laugh. Whenever we do something funny, you provide that deep, demonic laugh. That's good comedic timing right there. It's still demonic voice, though.
It sounds like hell speak.
I know. We'll have to figure that out, though. So tonight's show, we're bringing on the devil himself, and this is going to be our interview.
I've always had some questions for you guys.
Right. Right. We got some questions. And tonight, the part of Bob will be played by. Yes, sorry, Bob. I feel so bad. We're definitely gonna have to work it out with your audio, though. We're gonna have to fix it somehow. I thought we got past it. Oh goodness! All right.
So yeah, I mean that
Clap.
yeah, and that's one of my favorite, or that's one of Terry Lynn's favorite clips. Let's bring in. Let me fix the audio real quick for you, Stacy, so you don't have the echo back too much.
How about now?
I mean, you should be better now. I've got the echo cancellation on for right now. But yeah,
yeah, that was classic.
Exactly, and that's what I wanted to do tonight. Was I really wanted just to spend a moment honoring Bob, because that's what, like I said, he doesn't want he wouldn't have wanted like a bunch of boohoo and stuff. But I do want to catch up some comments, because again, we have Angela here, and I consider her kind of a special guest. She was on a team with Bob, so she was really close to that, and he always talked highly of Spectral Tech. I always considered them a very professional team.
Was she in the Facebook pictures that you showed?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if she was in the. Angela, were you in any of the Facebook pictures that you guys had posted on here? These right here at all? But yeah, I mean, excuse me. So that right there, though, that clip that Bob was with the whole demonic voice thing, it just became such a classic and funny moment, and especially with Bob, he had that tie on with the t-shirt, and he had this cigar in his mouth, and it all worked out so well, and it was just such a moment. You have those moments in time, where it's just sometimes it's just fleeting little moments of just fun and just that I don't know, just the way everything came together was so great. Terrell's like, yeah, his tie. Um, but Angela said that we had to grab a cheeseburger and a cigar after each late night investigation. Terrell said, "Oh, he lived in the sticks." So yeah, I think that's why he had to have like what was it like um, mobile cell phone provided type internet or something, but it was bad internet. Because I remember spending like him and I would be off camera with his laptop, and I'm like trying to remote troubleshoot as a internet tech myself. So I'm like, once I found out his internet and all this other stuff and what he was using, I'm like, well, that's why, you know. But and Angela said he would so totally do that for a laugh. Oh yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Bob had no problems making himself the butt of the joke when he needed to. Um, that is everything with his tie. His raccoons, yes, they were totally spoiled by him. So Terry Lynn brings up another good point. His raccoons, Bob literally had wild raccoons that would just come into his garage, like his man cave area, and he just like fed them, and treated him as part of his family in that sense, you know. But at the same time, he wasn't over the top. Like it's not that he was like some kind of like PETA type, I love all animals and some kind of Disney prince or something. He was still very matter of fact. Like he knew what they were and he knew what they were capable of and he knew what the reality was. But he still did it. It was cute. Um, and that's the thing. Bob always just had that realism about him. That reality. It's like no matter what, he just always knew the big picture. So I do want to share a little bit. And again, I'm kind of left this up there, guys. If you want to support Spectral Tech Paranormal Investigations, go by, follow them, drop a line to them, and just give them like a hi, type thing, and but support them as well. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to think here. So yeah, I mean, one of the things, and again, and I'm trying not to get into like the negative side too much. I know one of the things I checked on him, not too long before he passed away, and I asked him how he was doing. I was like, and I knew that he likes to answer things, bluntly and in a certain way. So when I asked him how he was doing, I said as good as can be expected, anyways, right? So because I knew like um, he would just say, well, I'm dying, whatever. But he said not so good. He did say that he went to bed like on a Tuesday night, and he didn't wake up till like Friday at 1. Like, I mean, he like slept for like 3.5 days or something. I mean, that's crazy. Um, Wait, is it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Like 3 days. That's crazy. And then he said maybe the end is coming soon, and we all get a good night's sleep. Mine will just be longer. smiley face. No sad face, nothing, but a happy face. And he said,
interestingly, I was just watching a video that science has figured out that there's a chemical that the human body. I mean, other animals like the bears and stuff, they can go into hibernation, but they have a particular chemical that's very similar to antifreeze. That once it enters the bloodstream, they can sleep for months and months at a time. They're not in a coma; they're just in a deep sleep for that period of time. And they say that people can do that too in extreme physical stress. They'll literally go into hibernation mode because that same chemical gets dumped into the bloodstream. And when you said that, that's exactly what I was thinking. Because I just watched this video yesterday. It's that Ivan, whatever his name, that scientist, YouTuber, talks about space most of the time. But they're interested in being able to do that for deep space missions, put people into hibernation mode to go to Mars.
Right.
And they just figured out that they can actually induce it. So,
yeah, I mean, and I guess the funny thing is, and Terry Lynn brought this up just now, and she said, and I'll put it back up on the screen again. He said, told us he'd catch us on an EVP. So one of the things last year, Bob, his health got really bad with the cancer, I think. And it's hard saying because whenever you have both Parkinson's and cancer, I mean, that's going to be hard on anybody. Mm-hmm. So even though these last few months, according to Claire, his wife, the cancer had not been so bad on him, and he really wasn't due to go back in a few months. But I think it was, she said she thinks it was the Parkinson's that acted up this time a little bit more for him. But in any case, last year he went into the hospital, and he was like, he called us up one night, and I'm like, hey Bob, what's going on? He's like, well, I'm in the hospital, and he's like, I don't think I'm going to be going home. He's like, I just don't think I'm going to be leaving here. And he's like, I think this is it. I think this is my final goodbyes. And I just wanted to call you. And he's like, there's only a few people I really wanted to call and say goodbye to. And, but he was on the phone with us for a while, and we just sat there, and I had him on speakerphone, and like him and like me and, Terry Lynn, and even our son was hanging out in there, and we had him on speakerphone, and we were just like talking to him, like it was the last time we were going to talk to him. And of course, we're saying all these nice things, and he's saying these nice things, but we're all choked up and crying and Bob, we really love you and all this stuff. And of course, Bob's coming in there well, hey, look at it like this. He's like, you can do your dowsing rods on your show, and I can try to come in there and talk with you and talk with you through the dowsing rods or show up on an EVP. I mean, and that's Bob. That's what I'm saying. Even at the end of the day, when he thinks he's gonna be dead, literally, and of course he did. He passed away eventually, obviously. But facing the end, he still was trying to look at some kind of, optimistic, positive side to this. And I'm not
he's trying to cheer you up. He's dying, and he's trying to cheer you up.
And he's cheering us up, and I'm just like, what the heck, but that's how he was. That's how he was.
Now, I got a question for you. When you had guests on the show for a while, you would ask them their ghost outfit. Do you remember what Bob's was?
No. I don't.
I was thinking it was Elvis or something.
I don't know. I don't know when I started doing that. I think I've asked him. You'd have to go through, because I think I also I've asked him before. So there's a couple things. Lightbringer, hey, what's up? Terry Lynn, I think he said naked. Yeah. I think he said, um, naked, Angela naked. Yeah. Because that was the thing. That's right. I remember it was like, Bob, if you could, what ghost outfit would you wear? But several of us on the team had already had a Bob experience this past week. Really? That's nice. That's awesome. Oh, and also too, yes, the raccoons did crawl up in his lap for treats. Wild raccoons. All right. So, yes, Bob's ghost outfit was naked. And the other question I would ask him is if he could go back in time, what would he, what day would it be? Like, if you go back in time for one day and visit like a ghost and just witness things, what would it be and when would it be and whatnot? I'm not sure if he ever answered. I'll have to go back if you guys don't remember. We'll have to figure that out. But I hope he did. And I even told his wife when we were talking on the phone. I said, well, now he knows. Now he has the answers that he's all been searching for. So I do want to share this because Angela was talking about just now that several of the team members had some type of Bob experience this week. I think Bob's making the rounds. I think he came by and saw us the night on the 31st. We didn't know that, but it's easier to look back. And for us, but now it was something that we did like say out loud. We just didn't know it was Bob. So just to give you guys watching a little bit of context, in our house, generally we have some crystals like in the bedrooms and a few places in the home that we sort of keep that off limits. But most of the ghosts, the spirits that show up in our house, every once in a while, kind of like a stagecoach, they come through and, then we'll address them and they move on. Well, most of the time they are there and they are, they'll make noise in the hallway and things like that. Well, in this case, on the night of the 31st, specifically, we know because it was the 31st, Terry Lynn actually said something to me. And she goes, Josh, she's like, I cannot sleep. I'm having trouble sleeping. I'm hearing things in the hallway. And she was also like, didn't you have like a headache or something? Or, I'm not sure, but I know she wasn't quite feeling or something like that. I can't remember, but I do remember she was telling me that there was something in the hallway. There was something also going on. Oh, that's right. It wasn't that she wasn't feeling well. The reason why we know it was the 31st is because on the 1st, we were going to get a direct deposit. And Terry Lynn was stressed that night about the 1st, about the next day. That's why we remembered it was the 31st. So, right, she just couldn't sleep. And so, and I was trying to, be comforting like normal. I'm just like, hey, don't worry about it, honey. Everything will be fine. We always get the direct deposit. But sometimes bills and life, things get a little stressful. But that's when she also brought up to me, she's like, yeah, there's something in the hallway, and so that's where we probably think Bob did come by and see us. And not only that, Terry Lynn was up until 7:37 a.m. on top of all that, which was like even more rare because she kept hearing somebody outside her bedroom door. And like I said, normally it's if ghosts show up, if a spirit shows up outside her door or like in the hallway, then generally it's like I said, she still can go to sleep. I mean, she's got protection, she's got her water, she's got, all the things that are necessary for her to get some rest. But on that particular night, she was up till 7:37 in the morning and had specifically pointed that out to me. So that's why I would think, Bob probably did come by, and I'm sure he's probably been by all of his friends. And again, Bob was, he he told me, and again, and I'm just going by all the things that him and Bob, like Bob and I would talk about, is that Bob was a lot like me in the sense Bob was kind of one of those people. It's like you kind of either you understood him or you didn't. He didn't have like a ton. He didn't hold like 1,000 friends and associates and stuff. Bob just had his people that he liked. Bob just had that inner circle, and that was about it. So I imagine that, like Angela said, she said, I expect he will always be around us. So yeah, I think that's true. I think he made his rounds, and I'm am I gonna go seek an EVP session or a dowsing rod session for him? I don't know. I don't know. I don't. What?
Well, what you can do is light a little tea candle and put it on a little like a little saucer. Get a glass of water, set it next to the saucer, and light a cigar. I'll take a couple puffs, blow it in the air, and set the cigar down next to the candle there on the dish, and then just talk to Bob. Say, thank you for coming by. Whatever you want to say to him, and say peace and light, and that way you actually kind of like give him a little bit of energy and love. And at the same time, he can hold a conversation with Terry Lynn,
Right.
without doing any inadvertent damage, harm to Terry Lynn as she's experiencing the stuff. It is the energy itself is coming from the candle and the cigar, and he likes cigars anyway, so it's not like you're giving him something he wouldn't want. So
Yeah. And I'm sure Angela probably even knows what type of cigars he smoked. But yeah, and that was the other thing too. See, because even Terry Lynn had, like, when I read you guys that message. So when Terry Lynn, she one morning, she like a week or so before he passed away, that's when she woke up, said, "Hey, Bob, I had a dream that Bob passed away." And she's like, "You need to check on him." And that's actually when I checked on him. And when he said, "Yeah, I slept for, whatever." And that message I read you guys earlier, that was the last message on text that I had talked to Bob. And I think he had, I was trying to check while we're here. I did have an email from him, but I don't know. I don't think it was that. The email from him was longer. But in any case, so one of the things I don't have to pull that up. But one of the things I want to talk about too is, shortly before he passed away, and that was, it was kind of the. Remember I told you when he called us last year, and he was like on his deathbed and wasn't going to leave the hospital. He was making a lot of jokes and trying to cheer us up and keep the conversation light. Well, one of the things we started kind of pushing back on a little bit, like, well, Bob, you have to get out of the hospital because you haven't quite released your book yet. You've got to at least go. We need a copy of the book. So blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, once he got out of the hospital and he, and he said, "Hey, I'm home." And we had some breakthroughs and I'm going to live longer. Well, that was great. Now they're like, okay, now we were trying to give him something to do. We're like, hey, now you got to do your book thing, blah, blah, blah. So we were like pushing to do things. So, guys, my paranormal journey. Okay, you can see here. Wait a minute. Here we go. So, my paranormal journey. Robert Allen Fountain. Right. So you definitely need to get that. Of course. We got a note in here from Claire. That was, he was still around, and of course we got our autographed and inscription there, and that was back in November. So, But yes. And his dedication, it's small and sweet. That's why I'm going to read it. His book was dedicated, he said, to my mother, Florence Stump, and my wonderful wife, Claire, the two women who changed my life. So that's nice. So yes, but guys, you got to go get it. You got to read it. It's on Amazon, I believe. It's where you really can, I think it's even a lot of the bookstores. It was I don't remember where all it was circulated, but definitely go get it for sure. Okay. We told Hun he had to finish the book. He can't go yet. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. It's like we kept pushing, like, hey, you can't go. You got to finish your book. You're almost there. Blah blah blah. So, but he got it out. He got it out, obviously. So, if you're watching this, guys, go get his book. I'm pretty sure the money's going to go to Claire. I'm sure that they have that all straightened out. But guys, go support Robert Fountain, Bob Fountain, as we all knew as Bob, or Angela said sometimes they called him Bobstein. Right, Bob Stein, Einstein, Bob Stein. Well, when I read it in my head, it went to like Bobstein, like Frankenstein or Bobstein. That's why when I read Bobstein, but it's Einstein, Bobstein. Yeah, I guess right. I don't know. Anyways, because he had the wild curly hair sometimes. So, but guys, go support Bob's book for sure. Great guy. I love him to death, and I miss him. Again, it's not often I have a lot of close friends, and despite our age difference, he was a really good friend of mine. So I really enjoyed our chats. Stacy knows, like, Stacy's the same way. I'm a talker. He was a talker. Stacy's a talker. I'm a talker. We get talking these long, in-depth paranormal theories and discussions, and it's really cool. Bob and I was on a lot of same wavelengths at times, and it's just he had a way of looking at things, and he was open to a lot of stuff. Period. It's like he knew that that there was a God out there. There was something beyond. But he also was always open to a lot of other things and to learn things. Despite his age, he still was trying to learn things. So, and he would tell you, like, yeah, there's no experts, really. There's no, in that sense, but he would tell you those things. But yeah, Terry said, "Oh my God, my heart hurts." So expected him to pop up and chat. I know sometimes, like, there was some of these last episodes that we do, like there was a few where he popped in a couple times and he'd just be like, "Hey guys, I'm sorry, I'm really late, or it's getting kind of late. The meds kicking in." He'd chat though sometimes. But when there's times we'd be doing the show, and the times when he wouldn't show up, it's like, where's Bob? Where's Bob? Because I know, like, that's one of his things. And even his wife had told me, like, yeah, she's like, he loved showing up to your show. So when he didn't show up, that's when we were just kind of like, and ICU, whose ICU has been there since about the beginning. She's probably the first regular viewer we had. I didn't even realize how far she went back until I saw one of Bob's videos, and ICU was already in there, like, and I had already called her a regular then. So Taylor says, "Well, now Bob, you're an expert for sure. You know everything." Right? Yeah, he probably would be like, he'd probably say something on that. Angela says, "Thank you for honoring him. He truly had a passion for paranormal and loved to share his experience and knowledge. He appreciated it all very much. He was proud of doing the shows with you." Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said, and I think it's really cool because, we knew Bob a certain way. Angela knew Bob a certain way. She got to work with him as a team and all these things. So it's like when somebody passed away, hearing two sides of a family, it's like, hey, he said good things about you. He said good things. And that's how it is. It's like he always talked good about. He was very proud of Spectral Tech. He was very proud of the, investigations he did, and he would tell you like, hey, I wrote things in spreadsheets and databases, and we would talk about a lot of technical things. So there is something that I'll be announcing soon, that I've discussed with Bob in the past, and he was pretty blunt with me about something that I asked him, that we talked about, and I know I'm being a little vague. It's just that I have to get everything prepared, but there is something we talked about. It was one of Bob's ideas, and it's kind of one of those things where we talked about it, and he was like, look, it probably won't be long before I pass away, and you'll probably have to you can do it. And so it's something we'll look at for sure soon. So that won't be too long. I'm going to work on trying to do that for Bob. And but also too, love to show off his paranormal toys. Yes, and that's true too. Yeah, he did. He loved to show off any kind of new tech toys. He did like the tech side of things. When it come to those things, and again, just he loved that, and that's what he did. When I met him at Outer Realm Fest, he had brought some of them. Angelo said, "Yeah, he had tons of them." Exactly, and so I did want him. I did want to be able to use him on a few upcoming projects, but that's okay. He's going to be there with me. Boo Buddy, yeah, he loved his Boo Buddy. That's for sure. Yeah, because we have, and that's what I'm saying, guys. If you want, and you want to go back, go to my video library. Go to the lives, because the lives is a lot of times what we did together. But click on the live tab and then search for Bob, or search the word council. A lot of those will have episodes, and you'll see some of the different episodes he was on. I don't know if they all were labeled Bob Fountain, but I know sometimes too it was like we sometimes he'd be on the show in a different way, and it wasn't necessarily like a guest, but sometimes he helped from the sidelines. But he was definitely involved a lot, and especially like with the tech stuff. I think we did an episode where we did like a bunch of paranormal investigation equipment, and I think he might even have showed off some equipment too. So you'll just have to go back through the videos. I'm telling you guys, I think you'll really enjoy listen to what he has to say. I mean, it was nice even hearing him today. It felt like he was back, like having him in the, when we were watching him earlier, it's just like, hey, he's there, and he's talking about things. And I just have like Terry Lynn said, I just expect him to just show up in the chat or something. But anyways, let's see. All right, we're going to start wrapping things up here on the backside. What else was there? If I'm forgetting something, guys, let me know. I'm sure Terry Lynn she's helped me kind of remind me of some different things. Stacey, do you have any, I've been talking a lot and showing a lot of clips, what do you have any additional thoughts now that you've listened and watched even more stuff?
No, I don't have anything additional, because I was listening to Bob most of the time the same way that everybody else was. The first one, again, I had no idea he was, into stock cars. I totally, am into that sort of thing, and I would have picked his brain, on what he knew and what things were like back in the day, but I never knew that till just now. So, I missed out, is what it comes down to.
Right. Well, and I can say, like, I know, because you actually, like, you started becoming a viewer a long time ago too. Like, there was a couple of people I could rely on to show up a lot of times, and it was like Bob, ICU, and Tatalongo. You know, those, and of course Terry Lynn, obviously, but that'd be like my main chat group for the most part. And it was that long-term relationship of you guys coming to the shows. Eventually you ended up, just like you were been guest on the show enough to where it's like, dude, just come on, just now we're co-hosting together each one of these. So, but you've been there, you were there too, from pretty far back. I can't even remember when you first came on, but I know it's been a long time.
Yeah. I did a show on the remote viewing, because I think that episode where somebody asked about remote viewing, I came on right after that, just to be a guest.
Right.
Just kind of mushroomed from there.
Yeah, and like I said, because I remember you, because you had that unique name for me, with Tatalongo. I'm like, and you'd just show up all the time, and and you always would have these, your comments, and like you can tell the way people talk and say things through their chat, through the chat versus other people. Who are you doing? But some people had more intellectual, structured comments or questions, and you were definitely one of those. Like you, and like I said, and Bob and ICU and stuff. You guys were a special part of the chat that kept showing up. Bob was, again, just kept coming to chat because I thought, like, oh, he was going to be on the show, and I was like, Bob Fountain's going to be on the show. And even some other people that I didn't even think knew who Bob Fountain would be were just like, you have Bob Fountain on your show coming up? And so it was so cool. And but then, like, it's like Bob, after he was on my show, he was showing up and in the chats. And I'm like, okay. And then he just, like, every show he was there, and I'm just like, this is so cool. Like, I didn't think, so I always appreciated you guys, especially. Like I said, it was always the core group for sure. And I think a little bit too. Like, I can't leave out Big Rich, Rich back in the day was showing up to a lot of my shows too. But ICU, Tatalongo, Bob Fountain, and Terry Lynn was always in my chat. So at least always. So yes, but Terry Lynn said that we're both doing him proud. So I hope so. I haven't like broke out into full on tears. I got choked up a few times during this, but I'm trying to think of the way Bob, is, and the way he carried himself and what he would want from us. And I don't think he doesn't want us. I don't think he would want a sobbing show. So, but in any case, guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much. We're going to start wrapping it up. And I really do appreciate you guys showing up to talk about Bob. Again, if please share this out to people, that if you think they knew him, if you think that this video would help them in any way to see Bob again in that sense, share it to them, please. Seriously. But yes, and ICU says, yeah, he would make us laugh. Oh yeah, there was almost like, and as one more thing I want to get into real quick is, it's almost like there was two shows sometimes, two little worlds. It's like you would have either me and Stacy up here doing our thing, talking subjects, or me and a guest, and then there was like the chat world, who, again, Terry Lynn, ICU, Bob, or even sometimes Stacy, if he wasn't on the show, he'd also be in the chat. But either way, they'd be in the chat. Either, and it's funny because if I had a guest on, and this is something I want to bring this up. I just thought about this too, because if I had a guest on, Bob was good for asking the tough, weird questions. Not so much like the hard-hitting questions, but they were pretty tough. So if you go back, especially like the more like intellectual you are, Bob had some pretty good questions for you. He was going to hit up some pretty crazy, like, what if scenarios, do you think kind of scenarios, like, do you think, like, if Satan, had clothes or something, I don't know, like, he would come up with some craziness, and like, what if you were a ghost, but could you die in the spirit realm still? And I don't know, like there'd be like these levels that he would just take you on with these questions, and they'd really press you. And sometimes some of them would be pretty, like, almost questions you almost don't want to ask because they were a little risque for some of the viewers I had. But Bob would ask them, and I'd just be like, so one of our viewers, regular viewers, Bob, wants to know. Like, in a way, I'm not going to lie, there was a guilty pleasure in that because they weren't coming from me. So the guests couldn't get mad at me for putting them in some kind of hot seat, because that's one of the things I never really did for my guests is I didn't always put them in hot seats. I always had people come on. I'd just ask them about themselves and, ask them questions and give them a chance to talk about themselves. And I always kept it in a positive light, even when I had people on the show that potentially could have been fakers, on some of their paranormal stuff. So Bob, I could always count on Bob to really put down some good questions for me, to some good heated questions to really put it to him. So in that sense, not overly mean. Let's see.
Well, there was one time, I think it was one of the last few. He was asking questions that he wanted you to, it almost got you banned. Because the way that he worded, he's like, I'm not going to say that out loud.
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing. Sometimes he would just say it right out in the chat, and I couldn't say those things. So, but yeah, Angela said he totally would want laughter and smiles. I'll always love you, boob. I'll never live that down. But Terry Lynn said he tested everyone, and Angela said he likes to make you squirm. Terry Lynn said yes, and I see you said laugh out loud. And Angela, so yeah, I mean, he liked answering those tough questions too. Oh yeah, and that's the thing, because he had no qualms about throwing out different theories, and he was a very in-depth thinker. Again, this was all things that I think the people that got along with them were probably in-depth thinkers too. And he really liked that engaging conversation. Because again, he's a talker, and he had his stories, but it wasn't just stories. He loved to discuss theory. And when I don't know how to talk about this but I invented something, and Bob really was wanted to be a part of the test process, and really loved what I did. So one of these days I'll get to put it out there to the public, and but he was definitely a part of that process too. In fact, he would supply some real case information, so really helped out a lot on some of the testing. So I'll always be grateful for that. And he was fascinated by what I did, what I created. He loved the theory, and we used to have pretty good discussions about that stuff. So I'm going to have to really get my butt in gear this year and make Bob proud. But yeah, Taylor said, Josh, he believed in you. Yeah, that's the thing. I guess I didn't fully realize that too much until talking with his wife, and, we had a really good talk. And so, so yes, I'm going to have to make Bob proud this year for sure. On top of everybody else, my grandfather that passed away recently, Bob, geez, and then the people that are still living. I know Stacy's been on my butt about doing some things, so I've definitely got some people in my corner that's trying to kick me in the butt and say, hey, but it's tough. It's tough, guys. I've got 2 jobs, so I'm trying to work around that. And this year, Terry Lynn's committed to try to help me get rid of my second job. And which, by the way, one of those ways is you're going to have to go visit her. And I don't like to use the show too much for pushing anything. I really don't. But I know that we definitely would. Let me see if I can find it here for you guys. Oh, and I did pay the extra money tonight to make sure I could have Paranormal Underground magazine up here. Guys, if you have not, Bob wrote for them. I guess I need to mention them. I mean, shit. Like every time I think about ending the show, I remember so many more aspects of Bob. And of course, he was a writer for Paranormal Underground magazine. Other than writing his book, he regularly contributed to the magazine. If you don't have it, you need to go get it. Okay, it's free, really, for the first year. I don't think they ever even charged me. But go there, tell them I sent you. In fact, they're going to be getting ready to do something, a little tribute article or something to Bob. So I'm super, super excited for that in this next coming up episode, which you can be a part of. I think it'll be in the next episode, probably on March 1st. But every first of the month, it'll show up in your email, and it's a full-on illustrated, beautiful magazine. Paranormal Underground magazine, guys. Go check it out. Bob was always proud of Cheryl in that magazine, and he made me so proud of it. That's one of the ways I met, was Bob gave me like a thing at Outer Realm Fest saying, hey, this is good for a year free subscription to this magazine. And I'm just like, okay, that's awesome. This dude just hooked me up. Like, I met this guy. We sat there and had these amazing conversations. And I think even when he first came over to my booth, I really didn't even meet him really at first. Terry Lynn was really the one that talked to him a lot. And she kind of made sure that I got to talk to him because somebody else was kind of taking up my time. And so, but Angela says, thank you so much. Yeah, that's no problem for sure. They will be doing an tribute article as well. Yeah. And I should have some words in there too. I know Cheryl reached out to me. So I'm excited for that. Like I said, Paranormal Underground magazine, that's just another aspect of Bob that he loved. Again, if there was two things, I think Bob truly, or three things when it comes to the paranormal, as far as beyond his tech and himself, it was his team, Spectral Tech, it was Paranormal Underground magazine, and then he loved my show. Like those are three things that he always loved to talk about. And I'm honored to be a part of that. I really am. The magazine, yes, that's what I was trying to make sure. I think there was something I did get sidetracked on because I think I got sidetracked on with the magazine, but he did write in that. So guys, go definitely check that out. And you might even be able to get some back episodes, but man, I'm telling you, good magazine. All right. I think that might be it now. Guys, for all your Bob Fountain needs, guys, either go visit Spectral Tech, and I think they still have Angela, I think you guys still have the website. And definitely come back. Terry Lynn said, please come back. Don't be a stranger, Angela. Again, Bob's family is always welcome to be our family too. That's how we've always looked at it too. And I know he considered you guys family.
Hey, now that we've got Angela here, we can, see about reviving the Paranormal Council here with Angela. Carry it on. Maybe.
Yeah, potentially. We got to get Sean, and I did talk to Sean recently, so I think Sean was interested in coming back for some Paranormal Council episodes every once in a while. And I know how much you like Sean being out here too.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah. He really got down to the meat of things from a different perspective, but it was, on the level. It wasn't fire and brimstone. You're all going to burn in hell because you talked to the dead people. He was, he recognized the difference between, what was truly demonic and what wasn't. So,
yeah. And also too, guys, we need to get, where is it here? I'm going to share this. Hold on. Because this was like the ultimate Paranormal Council at one time. But I got to fix this real quick. Hold on.
Got to put me back on Echo.
Yes. We had 5 members at one time for one show. Somebody named Terry Lynn. What do you think about mirrors? Like, do they scare you, or what do you think?
Only if I'm looking at them, yeah.
Terry
As
Lynn.
far as portals and spirits and stuff, I don't know much about the whole mirrors. I just know that in my house, I'm like looking at Stacy. You know.
And Bob's like lighting his cigar. Sean's kicked back. Stacy's chilling. But yeah, I had to share with you guys that Terry Lynn was on the council with Bob one time. So I know we hardly ever see Terry Lynn. I know, I see. Isn't that cool? It was like an extra little bonus treat tonight. All right, and I'm gonna make sure that I got the echo cancellation. So Stacy, you can talk and without fear of echo.
Nice.
All right, but guys, seriously, I just want to say again, thank you guys so much for sharing and honoring the memories that we had from our side. I didn't want to try to do some kind of like bio or something, you know. I think that's best for people that knew him even longer than us. But I really wanted to share our side of Bob Fountain and what we've learned over the last, 3.5 years, and how much he meant to me. And so I really appreciate you guys. So share this. Please at least click like. Everybody at least click like so we can get that up for Bob. And Terry said, "Oh my God, I'm crying." But guys, thank you all so much. And remember, we do the lives. At least we try to do them about every Thursday. For the most part, usually different subjects. Sometimes not always here lately, but Terry said, "Love you, Bob." He's always welcome here. Please like and subscribe. ICU says, Angela says he loved y'all. Thank you. But guys, thank you all so much. And remember, and this is something that Bob was another fan of, and that's my catchphrase: seek the truth.
Peace.